Okay, everybody, here we are for another episode of Now Showing with Mike and Wayne. This is episode 99, so we are one away from our 100th episode, which we're going to have a bunch of guests on to talk about movies and talk about how great it is to have 100 episodes in the bank. So that'll be fun next week, but this week...
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a long one, so sit back, relax, and strap it down.
Yeah, I'm thinking we might do it in two parts. It depends on how long it takes to stretch that one out, so...
with just one guest, we can go for 2+ hours. So
yes.
with four of our favorite people, it's going to be episodic.
Yes, exactly. Hopefully you like hearing us talk, because it's gonna go on for a while.
Well, since we have 99 episodes, I would think they do like to hear us talk for some unknown reason.
At least the avid fans that we have.
All 5 of them. Woo!
All right, so the topic this week is we're going to review the new Hemsworth Miles Teller film that just got dropped on Netflix. That's our topic, is Hemsworth Teller. So we're going to start off with Hemsworth. They're just going to pick a movie from the beginning of their career, the middle, and then someone more recent. We'll start with Hemsworth. So Chris Hemsworth, he starred in a very small role as Kirk's father in the first Star Trek movie that J.J. Abrams did. But in 2011 was his big break. And I think everyone knows what we're probably going to talk about. It's the one where he plays the guy with the long hair and the giant hammer. Thor.
Sam Felon?
Yes.
Yes, I'm cheating with IMDb right now because I don't know anything.
2011, he was Thor. And Kenneth Branagh directed the first Thor movie. This is one of those movies, Wayne, to me, when I think of the early MCU days, I really look fondly at this one. I feel like there are a lot of people that don't, but I like the fish out of water story. I like the God, the all-knowing God having to kind of learn a lesson. I thought that worked really well. I loved Natalie Portman and Kat Dennings and Stellan Skarsgård, and obviously Tom Hiddleston being introduced as Loki, I think is probably what a lot of people love in this movie. Because he's still great. I mean, to this day, he's still one of the greatest characters from the MCU. But to finally get Thor in the MCU, I think was a great beginning to this character. And I honestly, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think this was the after credits tease after Iron Man 2, if I remember correctly. All of a sudden, it's just the hammer. It's like, oh, finally.
Coulson he's out in the desert. Like, where's Coulson? He's out in the desert, and they got the hammer. And and then of course you get the Stan Lee cameo at the beginning of Thor where they're trying to remove the hammer with the truck. So I mean, there's lots of great moments just in the beginning of this film. We get to see Asgard for the first time, the Bifrost Bridge area thing, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just a really cool world. And it's great that Kenneth Branagh kind of got to be the one to do it because it feels very Shakespearean, for the Marvel universe, which is something he's very well versed in.
Does mother know you weareth her drapes?
Yes. Great quote from the Avengers.
The only knock I have on the whole thing, I wish we got more Heimdall.
Yes, agreed. I think most people are in agreement with that. He does get a great heroic moment in the third one, or in Infinity War, rather.
Yes.
Kind of his final moment. But you're right. More Heimdall. I think the Warriors 3 were great too, and then they kind of got watered down, especially in Ragnarok, where they're all killed right away. Right. Even though I think the Thor movies, Thor 1 was great. 2 was, everyone's kind of like the black mark on the franchise. Then they get better with 3, and 4 was fantastic. So, yes. 3 is amazing, even though, again, a lot of the people die in 3. It's still amazing.
Right. Is Thor The Dark World the lowest rated MCU movie? I venture a guess to say yes.
It was until, I think Eternals is lower, which I don't agree with. I think Eternals is a better movie. I think that one's going to grow on people, I think, for a while. But we'll see. But Thor: The Dark World, I think, was for quite some time. But Thor, I mean, again, just being introduced to this great character in this movie, Hemsworth did a really good job. My only gripe with this movie was that I like his appearance better in Thor: The Dark World and the Avenger movies and Ragnarok. They bleach dyed his eyebrows in this movie, and it just makes it look a little strange.
I wasn't digging the hair either. Like, he needed the
No,
long
yes,
curling
and
locks, and
one thing you could say about Dark World that it did better was it made his hair look a lot better, and it looked more natural for him
all
than
the
it did.
costume design got progressively better with
Yes, yes,
each one.
agreed. Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
I need a horse. We sell dogs and cats. I need one of those large enough to ride.
Yes. There's just when he's in the restaurant and he's got the drink, he's like, "Oh, this is great." And he just throws it on the ground because that's what he's used to. And like,
This drink, I like it. Another.
yes, another. There's so many good lines in this movie. When he
I
finally
miss
gets the hammer.
Kat Dennings' character. Is it Darcy, I believe?
Yep, Darcy.
She had a
Yep.
lot of just good little quippy little ones in there. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't think she's coming back for the fourth one, or maybe
There might be. She's in WandaVision, so she's already been back into the universe this year. So it's going to be interesting. I was wondering if she was going to be in it or not. So we'll see in about a month when that one comes out, if she makes an appearance of any kind. We already know Natalie Portman is returning and is going to be a version of Thor that is from the comics, because I know people will, PC and wokeness and blah blah, like it's straight from the comic books that happened. So that, and I really love if you watch the trailer, I know we're kind of jumping all over the place because I'm geeking out on Marvel right now, but if you watch the trailer for Thor 4, I love that her and Valkyrie are going to get to have a bunch of scenes together, and they seem like they get along very well. So because Valkyrie, again, another great addition from Thor Ragnarok, who they did a lot with her in that one, but they haven't done a lot with her since. So I'm looking forward to Tessa Thompson's character in the new Thor. But again, back to the first one.
Not listed on the casting for
Kat Dennings. Okay,
Thunder. So
yeah, she may pop up somewhere else now. You know, they had her in WandaVision, so it's possible she pops up in another TV show, maybe even too.
Hey, I was happy to see her. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I mean, this first Thor movie, again, it just I don't know. I like the style of it. Like it's one of my favorite, I think, of the intro movies of the MCU. Because I'm on record as saying I wasn't a huge fan of Captain America: First Avenger. I like it, but it just wasn't.
Grew on me. But the first time I saw it, I was like,
yeah, exactly. This one I preferred much better. And just to see Hemsworth, you know, where he's gone from this Wayne, I think, to now, to like he's grown a lot, not only as Thor, but also as an actor, I think, too. This is definitely where he kind of, I like the Thor franchise for him because he kind of gets to be more himself as the series goes on, which, you know, when he first did it, they weren't kind of sure what they were getting out of him and what they wanted. But now you could totally tell that like he owns this role. And this was it was a great starting point for him, I think.
I think also what they did in Endgame with giving him the PTSD and the whole Fat Thor thing.
Yes.
I believe that resolves in Love and Thunder a little bit. So
yeah, they kind of give the teaser in the trailer that
comes
taken care of.
But that was just cool to see. It's like, even though he's, you know, a god, it just makes it more relatable. So
yeah, it makes it more relatable, more, you know, more human in a sense. All right, so moving on to Miles Teller, we'll start with the one that kind of made him a star. I mean, he did do the Spectacular Now, 21 and Over, Project X. He was in the Footloose remake. But I think the one that anyone's going to go to when you talk about him is Whiplash. And him, J.K. Simmons, won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for it, obviously. But just the explosion of that movie, basically, you know, cementing after one film Damien Chazelle as a director to watch. You know, Miles Teller as a star to watch, and J.K. Simmons, you know, just being the legendary self that he always has been, kicked ass in that movie. It's a movie about a kid who wants to be a drummer and what it takes and the motivation and the dedication. And I thought Miles Teller did a great job in this movie. he is an actor who I think we definitely have seen grow on screen in his abilities too. Like he's done really just great work in some. I've talked about some of the other movies I've talked about. Like a lot of people haven't seen. He was really good in the boxing one. What Bleed
Bleed
like
for
this? I
this.
believe. Yeah,
Bleed for this.
very
Yeah.
very good. Great performance, kind of very understated. But in Whiplash, I mean, yeah, I mean, he makes it. I don't think he can really play the drums, but he makes it believable. Like he makes you feel like that he is a drummer and that uh, his career or his life depends on it. So, Wayne, what are your thoughts on Whiplash, Wayne?
The fact that it's already 8 years old is just what? How? Because I think about it, yeah, it was a couple years ago, right? No, that was 8 years ago. Now it's like, holy yikes. Um, yeah, it's a great movie, and I hate um, J.K.
JK.
Simmons in it. So
Mm-hmm.
great job by him. And it's I'm not the most musically focused or intrigued
Mm-hmm.
person, but just to see what these guys go through and how like laser focused and borderline obsessed they have to be about it. It's like, maybe my video game habit isn't so bad.
Right, exactly. It, and you bring up JK like you hate him in this movie, and like you do, and it's crazy for a movie like this to even really have a villain, but it does. I mean, he is the he's the villain of this story, but he also, the last shot at the end, like you kind of see them almost come a little bit on common ground. And I think, it goes away to show like maybe you don't need to be like he is because he's very abusive. He's very much an emotional abuser. I think even physical at some point. Doesn't he throw stuff at him? Um,
I thought he actually hits him too, but
he may actually hit him at some point. So obviously not a very good person. But in this particular case, they do show that like I don't know, tough love, I guess, can like bring out like good performances. Um, Obviously, I don't think that was their intention. It's not supposed to end on like this happy moment, and it's not a happy moment. It's kind of like you're watching the abused like almost fall into a trance for his abuser again.
Stockholm syndrome, I think, is what they call that.
Yeah, right, exactly, right. He still, even though he knows it's wrong, he realizes that he's playing like the best he's ever played under this person. So there's a lot of emotional um, stuff at stake in this film, and it's almost like it's a simple premise, but the way the movie comes out, it's just so hard hitting, and I feel like it doesn't get talked about maybe as much as it should. It got talked a lot about back in 2014, but I think it is one of those ones that should stand like the test of time and should kind of live on for a while, I believe. But yeah, what a great movie. I mean, if you haven't seen that movie, you really need to check it out. Obviously, I'm not going to tell people to go watch Thor because most likely you've seen Thor. But all right, so for Hemsworth, obviously he's done a lot of Marvel movies, so you got to kind of go through here. There's a couple other ones I really like. Wayne, In the Heart of the Sea. I thought he was really funny in Vacation. I know a lot of people don't like that movie. I actually kind of like that film, the remake slash reboot, I guess, because Rusty is the main character, so it's kind of a reboot or sequel. Um, but the one I really like, and I know we've talked about it before, and I thought like Hemsworth got overlooked for this one was Rush from 2013. And I'm not a race car person. I don't know anything about like Formula One racing or whatever kind of. I think that's the kind of racing it is, right? Um, yeah, Formula One, and it's a true story about James Hunt and Nicky Lauda and about how they drove each other to be the best at that Formula One racing. And it's a very tragic story when it comes to Chris Hemsworth's character James Hunt, the American that kind of took everybody by storm. Um, it's a really great suspenseful film, great action, great race car stuff. Just really one hell of a film. So we have talked about Bleed for this before. But another one that I really liked, Wayne, was War Dogs. You're familiar with War Dogs, right?
Yes, that was a very misleading film. The campaign for that was very misleading.
Yes. Uh, it's a very interesting film. I think it's definitely, in what you mean by misleading is because it was from the director of The Hangover. They were like, "Ooh, a new comedy from the director of The Hangover." It is not. It's while it's funny at times, it's not really
Yeah,
a comedy. It's a
no,
very
it's
serious movie,
definitely
but
it's an action drama that's got a few funny quips in there.
the
You just
the
drove through
the
the
quote,
triangle of death. What?
yeah, where they start high fiving everybody. So directed by Todd Phillips, starring Miles Teller and Jonah Hill. Another Jonah Hill dramatic performance. It's one of those films that I didn't expect much when I watched it, but I really did enjoy it. It's kind of reminds me of Lord of War or Lords of War, the one with Nicolas Cage and Jared Leto and Ethan Hawke. Another movie I
Yes.
really like. So I liked this one a lot. A great performance from both Miles Teller and Jonah Hill. Especially, it allows Jonah Hill to kind of play the crazy character. So it's kind of like an extension of, either you could even look at it as an extension of his Wolf of Wall Street character or from his comedy movies. But he gets to, be the loudmouth, outspoken one, where Miles Teller is more the quiet, like going along for the ride. Another true story. This is a movie about two young guys who get involved in gun running because they kind of just like fall into it, and it's a real story. You can look it up; it's really crazy to actually read like how it happened and everything. But yeah, Wayne, what are your initial thoughts of War Dogs?
While going into it, I thought I was going to see a buddy comedy. I did like the whole encompass of the movie, just the betrayal and um, just you know getting established in this and having all this cash and all the fancy stuff, and then what uh, having it kind of giving it all up, I guess you could say, or walking away from the life type thing, or
Yeah,
it's a very much a character growth and self observation piece, I guess you could say. It's I don't know. Well, I sound like
it's
I'm trying to make it more than it is because it's not really
well,
that deep, but
no, but I think it's a good example of like of a generation that grows up on movies like Scarface and movies of that ilk, and that they look appealing, like, oh, it would be awesome to be Tony Montana or Tony Soprano for that matter. We idolize these characters, and it's a great, I think, story of like two guys that probably grew up like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then finally actually doing it and kind of getting to live that Tony Montana lifestyle, and then realizing, like you said, like they gave it all up. Like they didn't really give it all up; they were kind of forced to because they were breaking the law. They were getting in trouble. It's a crazy movie. I haven't seen it in a while, but I do recommend people checking it out. If you just kind of passed over it, like, oh, it's a stupid Jonah Hill movie, definitely give it a watch because it is really it's fun, it's serious, it's dramatic, emotional. It goes kind of takes you through all the whole roller coaster of emotions there. It does. Well, I'm not a big fan of Joker. It does show that Todd Phillips can handle dramatic material, which is, I think, what led to him doing Joker. So if you like Joker and you hadn't seen War Dogs, go and check out War Dogs. You kind of see where he should. It's kind of his calling card for something like Joker. So I'm going to talk about one from Hemsworth. Wayne, I don't know if you've seen it or not. It's called Bad Times at the Al Royale. Al Royale. Uh,
yes,
have you seen? Okay, so Hemsworth, he really has a smaller part in this one, but he plays like the villain. And when he comes in, man, he eats up that scenery. It's such a great performance in an ensemble cast. You got Jeff Bridges, and who's like the lead of it. Cynthia Erivo, Dakota Johnson, John Hamm, like I said, Hemsworth already. Lewis Pullman, Bill Pullman's kid, Nick Offerman, Xavier Dolan, directed and written by Drew Goddard. Shea Wiggum is also in it. So great ensemble cast, and you kind of are it. I'm trying to think, like it's very much like a Tarantino style film. You got all these characters, and you're paying attention to everything that's going on. The story, you don't really know what's happening up until the very end. And Hemsworth just, he's coming because he's on the poster. They used his name to sell the film for sure, but he comes in probably like the last like 30 minutes, and he's just got the he's like he's like a cult leader basically. Got the unbuttoned shirt and just looks like just kind of a badass, and also a crazy person, which similar to the performance that we're going to talk about later. He has a way about playing these characters that are, something's not quite right with them, but you're not quite sure what it is. And I think this is just a good role for him to kind of show that he has acting chops. He's not just a pretty face. He's not just Thor. I really dug this film, but I like these style of films. Obviously, everyone knows I'm a big Tarantino fan. Wayne, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, definitely. You basically hit the nail on the head for me. Very, very good. Weird, and sometimes weird is good.
Yep.
So, yep.
Yeah, very Coen Brothers feel to it as well. I would throw that comparison in there. But Bridges is fantastic in it. So if you haven't seen that one, it's been floating around in HBO and stuff.
For my Hemsworth pick, I am going with 2020's Extraction. Non-stop, ready to go, balls to the wall, hammer down, whatever other idiom or tagline I can throw in there. So for those that aren't familiar with this is a Netflix debut, directed by Sam Hargrave. Basically, Hemsworth plays Tyler Rake, a black market mercenary, gun for hire, if you will. And he's basically been hired to extract the son of or rescue a kidnapped son from I forget exactly all the details. There's some crime lord,
something along those lines. Yeah,
just crazy, like nonstop chase, real tense moments. Disaster at every turn. Really, really nicely done. I enjoyed the hell out of it. This was one of the first movies I was really excited about after the pandemic hit and everything shut down. It's like, ooh, and very, very much enjoyed it. So,
yeah,
are you familiar with this one?
Yes, I am, sir. It's really good. It's really entertaining. I was going to talk about it, but I wasn't sure if it was. I wasn't sure if you were going to talk about it, so that's why I didn't bring it up. But Hemsworth is great. It's what's good about this movie is it's not like a Jason Statham film. And not that there's anything wrong with Jason Statham films, but it's an action film with like an emotional punch to it, and the character is kind of tortured. Tortures himself throughout the movie, and so you're dealing with like a wounded hero who then has to like put his life on the line to save this kid who he ends up bonding with. It's a really good movie, and I think up there with like The Old Guard as one of the best like action flicks from Netflix, because they've kind of got into this action genre of big stars like The Rock. We had the one we reviewed, Red Notice, with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds. There's Six Underground with Ryan Reynolds. So there's a plenty of this stuff out there. And I remember watching this one and really liking it. They are making a sequel. He's filming it right now.
Wouldn't it be a prequel?
No, it's a sequel. There's a teaser to it. Yep. So what we're
that really upsets me.
Well, there's a spoiler. Well, here's the thing, Wayne. I don't know if you remember, the kid is swimming at the end of the movie, and he pops his head up, and very faintly, in like a blur, you see a person that represents Chris Hemsworth, body size, standing next to the pool. So they did leave this hint that it wasn't possibly over at the end of the original film.
So it is like a goddamn Statham movie. Millions of sequels.
If you watch the teaser, they basically show what happens when he hits the water. So
it was really good, and it deserves. I guess it merits a sequel. So.
Well, we'll see. The sequel could be terrible. We don't know. But it's Netflix is looking for franchises. Old Guard's getting a sequel. This one's getting a sequel. They're trying to find something.
Honorable mention for the Hemsworth thing, really quick. His role as Kevin in Ghostbusters.
Yes.
With
a movie that we have talked not kindly about, but his performance was really good. I agree.
Made us chuckle. Really charismatic.
Yes.
Reminded me a lot, like with the energy level of Stone Crandall from the vacation movie you mentioned earlier. So.
Yes. All right, so Miles Teller, there aren't many more to talk about. I haven't seen Top Gun yet, which I will be seeing soon. Only the Brave, the one about the fireman with him and Josh Brolin, really, really good. Directed by Joseph Kosinski, who directed Top Gun and Spiderhead, which we'll be talking about here in a couple seconds. And thank you for your service. Another kind of emotional movie about a military film about a guy who comes home and his world just kind of sucks, and I think people could probably relate a lot to that today because it's very much how we treat military people when they come home. It's not usually very as heartfelt, I think, as we should. And we kind of, I think they're forgotten about, and that's kind of what that movie is about. It's a very good film. If you haven't seen it, obviously it's a drama, but check those out. I do recommend them. All right, so now we're on for our reviews
Of the week.
All right, Wayne, why don't you intro Spiderhead for us?
All right. 2022. This is a Netflix original, or at least it's on Netflix. I don't know if it's an original or not, but we have the director Joseph Kosinski, written by Brett Reese, George Saunders, and Paul Wernick.
The Deadpool
Starring, yes, Chris Hemsworth, Miles Teller, Journey Smollett, Mark Peggio,
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah, Pacquiao.
Tess Howbridge, Ben Knight, and some folks I'm not really sure I know too well.
Yeah, a bunch of other, I'm sure they're Netflix actors.
Up and comers. We'll call them up and comers,
Yes.
or maybe not. Just good for them.
Yeah.
All right, so by the name Spiderhead, I'm like, oh, fucking A, I hate spiders. Not one to be seen. So that was good. In the near future, convicts are offered the chance to volunteer as medical subjects to shorten their sentence. One such subject for a new drug capable of generating feelings of love begins questioning the reality of his emotions. So by that tagline alone, it's like, oh, all right. So we got some little science project going on here.
Yep.
And from the very beginning, we are see that Hemsworth's character, I believe, Absente is his name, maybe, or Absent.
Yeah, it's
Abnesti. Excuse me.
Abnesti. Yeah, Steve Abnesti. Yep.
Gotcha. So he is kind of the guy in charge of this little experiment here, and Verlaine, played by Mark Peggio, is his assistant. Teller is obviously the subject, if you will, to
The main subject. Yep.
Yes, and they go through a series of tests with this weird, funky, glowing thing attached to their back with vials of automatic injections, and they elicit emotions. The first one we see is the lust. Oh, baby. Where Miles Teller as Jeff and Tess Howbridge as Heather kind of get it on. Points off for no nudity. Don't waste my time. So off on the wrong foot. I'm totally kidding. It was very interesting the way they shot everything and so you know what's going on, but it actually doesn't reveal anything because a lot of times, I love women and boobs and all that stuff, but sometimes it just kind of takes away from the scene. And what it's really trying to go on there, it's not really about it's about what's happening to cause them to do that. So.
Exactly. It's what I liked about that scene too is at the end because they have a cell phone that basically allows them to inject the drugs, but then they can also decrease it at the same time. So they decrease it afterwards, and you can see the dejection in both Miles Teller's face and who plays Heather, the other girl.
Right.
The girl.
Well, what's funny is Heather said he was a 5 on a good day.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously the effects of the chemical and
it's like basically a drug that turns you on to someone makes them you immediately attracted to them. There's several drugs
just
throughout
the
this.
N40 that did that. So.
Yes.
As we later see, there are a whole bunch of other stuff that
There's a
makes it.
bunch of stuff going on in this movie. Hemsworth he is who he is, but he isn't exactly who he is. So there's some we're not going to spoil anything. There's some stuff to uncover there. It's an interesting performance from him. He does it in an American accent. You kind of get the idea that something's off with him from the beginning, because he's very much the way he talks. He's very much hiding something. And so Miles Teller's character Jeff is then the one who starts to kind of uncover the truth and what's happening. I think the movie itself is somewhat, I don't want to say simplistic, but like we've seen stuff like this before. But I think what does help with the movie is the performances from all three of our leads, which are Miles Teller, Chris Hemsworth, and Journey Smollett. I think all three of them do really nice work here. They make it interesting. There are some good plot twists and stuff that happen later, I think, that do help the movie along. It does have this like kind of like comedy undertone to it. Wayne, did you get that throughout? There were some moments that I think they were trying to hit comedically, especially towards the end, which they do hit. I mean, it wasn't like laugh out loud hilarious, but I would chuckle a couple of times. I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny.
Yeah. I always like the flashback reveal more and more throughout the film. You see what's really going on.
Yes, there is a reveal for sure with Miles Teller's character that you. I really didn't give it a second thought, to be honest, but there was a nice little twist that it kind of packs an emotional punch, I think, to it. So I enjoyed that. For the most part, I enjoyed this movie. I had a good time with it. I would say 6.5, 7 out of 10, Wayne. It was a fun movie. Not great necessarily, but a good time, I would say.
I'm right there with you. I'm going to go 6.5. I don't really feel the need to ever rewatch this.
Yeah,
because there's better Hemsworth out there, and
there is.
I really don't like not liking him. So
yes, he is the villain in this movie. Just so people realize that. Even my son was watching a little bit with us, and he's like, "Wait, is Thor the villain?" I'm like, "Yes, he's very much not a nice person."
Even as the bad guy, he is still so damn sexy. My God, my God, man.
And that's the
not
thing.
fair.
I was going to say that too. Like he, if anything, he proves that he's still attractive with brown hair. It doesn't really matter what, because we started, or I think I had the trailer on, and because my wife Rebecca watched it with me, and she's like, "Wow." She's like, I think I actually like him better with the brown hair. I'm like, okay, calm down. However, she's also not a fan of Miles Teller's face, because he does kind of look like he was smashed with an iron, and that's nothing against him. He just has a very flat face.
The older he gets, the more unattractive.
I think, and
let's talk about our attraction to the men and what levels they are. Yes. Whereas Hemsworth is at about a 9.9.
Yes.
Miles is batting 3.6.
I mean, she wasn't wrong with a 5 when she rated him in the movie. Also, it's hurt a little bit by the fact that he still has his Top Gun mullet a little bit. So obviously he went from one to the other, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting choice.
Why didn't they just digitally cover up the mustache? I mean, the mullet, what they like to do for shooting projects.
The studio would never do that, Wayne.
I got into an argument about somebody about how with the digital, I made the reference to the Justice League with the digital mustache thing, and I got into an argument with somebody who said that the Whedon version was the better of the 3 versions, and I wanted to strike them. It's like, get out of here! What's wrong with you? Yeah, I liked Firefly too, but we don't need to give him undue credit.
Yes, exactly.
So anyway,
moving on. And we've talked in length about that movie and about how crazy, even for Whedon, to give Whedon some defense to Whedon, is that what he was tasked to do of taking a 3.5 to 4 hour movie and cutting it down to 2 hours. So I mean, there's a lot that really with Justice League that we can totally get into, but.
We'll leave it at it's the studio's fault. Shame on them.
Exactly. Warner Brothers really fucked that one up. All right. So we've reviewed a couple remakes in over the almost 100 episodes we've done. This is another one.
And as usual, all the remakes are god awful.
See, I didn't hate it, but Wayne obviously had a different feeling.
How do you remake a comedy and not make it a comedy?
Okay. So we are talking about Father of the Bride, 2022, starring Andy Garcia, Gloria Estefan, uh, Adria Arjona, Isabella Merced, Diego Boneta. So a total, for the most part, Hispanic cast, which is a positive. I think we get this film for a different culture and generation. Cubans and Mexicans. That's the two cultures they're going for in this movie. It's directed by Gary Alizaraki, written by Matt Lopez and Edward Street, or based on the novel by Edward Streeter. So it's also important to point out that Father of the Bride with Steve Martin is also a remake because they made the original back in 1950. So it's a remake of a remake, or just a new adaptation, if you will, since it is based off of a novel.
As a whole, this movie is not bad or not. It's very well made. Everything is concise. The dialogue is good. The relationships are good. My problem is I went into this thinking Father of the Bride, great, a comedy. I'm in the mood to laugh, and that's what like my mind it just yeah. So there's nothing wrong with this film, but when you're going to do something like this, you got to be very careful with how you name things. That's the only thing I'm trying to get at. It's
Yeah.
not a bad movie by any stretch. It's just
Well, it's
dang it,
definitely
don't make it.
because we grew up watching, like, Father of the Bride is one of my favorite Steve Martin films. So because
Indeed.
we grew up watching that, it's hard not to watch this movie and compare it to that one. In comparison to that, yes, the Steve Martin version is a lot funnier. But I would argue, though, you also have a comedian as your lead actor, where in this one, Andy Garcia, while he can be funny at times, is not a comedic actor. He is a dramatic actor and mostly known for as such. Um, I did enjoy this movie. My family enjoyed this movie. Rebecca and her daughters are Mexican, and so I think that they felt seen maybe a little bit in this movie, and they liked it. They enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it too. Like, I agree with you at first. Like, I was like, wow, okay, so this isn't really that funny. But the dramatic and the emotional parts for me later in the movie, unlike something like Cheaper by the Dozen, which I didn't care about, this one at least they hit me differently. So I was able to overlook that it wasn't that funny. Um,
Right.
and I think there were a lot of. I think Chloe Fineman was really the only one that was really going for the comedy. Her and her assistant Kyler, and they had some funny lines. She wasn't great, but there were some moments that were humorous. Um, it's one of those films again, and we talk about a lot of being seen and stuff. The one daughter is lesbian, and she has by the end of the film, there's a girl that she's interested in, and they kind of don't. I'm like 50-50 on it. I like the fact that they didn't really address it much. It just is something that they're okay with already. They don't have to talk about it, but I think they could have like maybe made it like had made them have a kiss or something. Like, there was no kiss shared, which I think lessens the impact a little bit. But I did like the fact that it was like just already known that their daughter is a lesbian, and they're okay with that, because there's a scene towards the end where Andy Garcia, looks, complimenting his daughter, and he's like, oh, I like her, she's real nice. So that gives you like, okay, so they know, she knows, everybody knows that that's what she is. They just did a good job of not like, ooh, she's a lesbian, let's make a big deal out of it. They didn't
Yeah,
do that, which I
they
like.
normalized it as it should be. It's like any other
Exactly,
film. It doesn't
it's
need to be
normal.
the focal point or the hinge moment of the film. It's just like,
Right, exactly. It was, yeah, and I thought it was really well done. I do
mhm.
like the lead actress as well. I thought she did a good job. Overall, you could do worse. I think for a remake, like we talked about with or remake or sequel, Space Jam 2, terrible. Cheaper by the Dozen, terrible. Home Alone, terrible. Like, we had all these ones that we've reviewed. I didn't think this one was terrible, so
I just
I
wish
did
they
enjoy
wouldn't have called it. Like again, I am totally nitpicking right now because that's just where my mind goes. I think they should have given it a completely different title, and nobody would have. I don't know. Never mind. I'm just being me at this point.
No, I
So
get it. I get it. Like I said, again, it's something that we grew up on, so it's harder to separate it, I think. Um, but it's just again, it's that movie, but for a different generation, and I think it works for that sense. In that sense, it still works. It's just not as funny. You don't have Steve Martin and Martin Short, yakking it up, making you laugh a lot. There just weren't a lot of moments where they went after the humor in this one, I don't think. And maybe the book's not very funny. Maybe the book is a straightforward. I have no idea. You know what I mean? So like, they could have very much been like, we're going to adapt this straight from the book, and this is going to be the only adaptation that actually follows. Who knows? But for me, I would say it was a 7 out of 10 for this one. Obviously, Wayne, sounds like you were a little lower, but I did enjoy it. I do recommend people watch it if you're looking for something fun. You can watch it with the whole family. It is PG-13, but it's for the most part pretty level. There's nothing really inappropriate about it.
It's pretty tame for
yeah.
I'm at a 5 just because I can't get over myself,
and that's completely okay. We've all had movies that we just can't get into, and it's understandable, and that's all right. That's the way it is. Okay, so stuff I've watched this week, Wayne. I finished off the actor watch of Ed Harris with Jackknife. So every now and then there's a movie, when I'm going through old movies, I know, even if I haven't seen the movie, like I know the movie. Like if there's think of a classic film I haven't seen, I know that it exists. I've fucking never heard of Jackknife. So when I was going through Ed Harris's filmography and trying to find 4 movies to watch, I was like, what? I'm like, what is this? And it stars Robert fucking De Niro. It's Robert De Niro and Ed Harris in a movie together about 2 guys that come home from Vietnam, and years later, one of them's an alcoholic, and Robert De Niro's character is finally starting to get his life back on track, and he wants to help out Ed Harris's character, who's the alcoholic. It's a pretty interesting film. It's definitely helped by Harris and De Niro's performances because they are fantastic in it. The musical score is garbage. It's like it was made for a different movie. It's so weird. At times it's like it's a comedy. At times it's like it's supposed to be like a thriller. Like with the musical score, I'm like, I don't get where this is going. But it overall, just watch it for the performances. It's on Tubi, so it's free. But it was one of those ones I'm like, I think I'm going to watch this. So I would say like 6.5 out of 10. It's not spectacular by any stretch, but it was an interesting watch for sure. I really haven't watched much else this week, so we've had family in town. So Wayne, anything that you wanted to talk about specifically?
Yeah, Dawson and I have been starting to watch movies together again, and
Nice.
that's been fun. So we watched Back to the Future. That classic doesn't even need to be talked about. I made him watch Top Gun because he was asking about the new movie and what I thought. So, well, you got to watch the first one, and he liked all the action and the planes and everything, and I could hear him around the need for speed. I was like, oh god, here we go. And then we watched The Secrets of Dumbledore, the third in the series of
Fantastic Beasts. Yep.
And it's gotten so far away from the Fantastic Beasts, and it's just really, now focusing on the Dumbledore thing. And obviously we know that Johnny Depp was replaced for this one by Mads Mikkelsen.
Yep.
That being said, it's not bad, but it's just when you think about the expectations of a Harry Potter, movie or something in that universe, it's like, yeah, let's go, and it's just okay,
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see what they're doing, but it's the lowest rated of all the magical Hogwarts that universe, and there's a reason why. Like, it's just it takes a while to establish itself about what they're trying to do and what they're trying to get across. Like,
which is not great when you're in a third movie already,
right? Because the main, I forget his name. That's the Fantastic Beasts author.
Oh, J.K.
No, the guy that the first movie is about.
Oh,
who wrote Fantastic Beasts and Where to
I
Find Them.
forget. Eddie Redmayne is the actor. I
Yeah, but
forget.
what's the character's name? That's
I
what I'm
don't
trying
know.
to get at.
Jim Smith.
Jim Smith. Very nice. Yeah, it's just he's a side character at this point, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, and
It.
it's
Yeah.
got Newt Scamander. That's what his name
Yeah.
is.
Newt.
I mean, Jude Law does an admirable job as Albus Dumbledore and encapsulating everything that character is. And
Sorry, we've been having technical difficulties, people. So this is going to be a lot of cutting for me to do. But Wayne, you were talking about the Fantastic Beasts series. I think what really what they got away from. I think none of the movies never really hit. So each movie feels different. Like they are always trying to find what people wanted. And I feel like I haven't seen the new one yet, but I feel like they were getting closer because it's a whole movie about Dumbledore. But like then you said, like you go back and you're like, oh well, then why do we have this Newt character if he's not even the main character anymore?
it never should have been. It should have gone straight into this.
Yeah,
The Jude Law, Albus Dumbledore, and his romance with Gellert Grindelwald and all that stuff. Dan Fogler's back, and he's always fun in
yes,
this film franchise and on this. In general,
yeah.
I'm a fan. So,
Same here. I like that he's in a big franchise. I just wish
yeah.
that the franchise would be more successful because it seems like this one has basically been killed. Like this is they were supposed to do like 5 or 6. I'm pretty sure they're done after this. So
Yeah. Ezra Miller is a role that imitates life, apparently, because he's a
I don't mean to laugh
sadistic nutbag in that. And
yeah, it's obviously if you follow him, that whole story's messed up. His career's probably over, which it should be. And the Flash movie still has to come out, and he shot all of that. So who knows what they're going to do, if they're even going to release it, if it'll be in theaters. I have no idea.
Right.
But yeah, all right. So with all our technical difficulties, let's get to the wrap up here so we don't have any more while we go. All right. So the news this week: Joker 2 apparently going to be a musical. They're eyeing Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. Dakota Fanning reuniting with Denzel Washington for Equalizer 3, due out next September, 2023 to be exact. Chucky Season 2 adds Jennifer Tilly's sister Meg and her Bound co-stars Gina Gershon and Joey Pantaleone. Marvel Wonder Man series coming to Disney+. Hacks has officially been renewed for Season 3 at HBO Max. HBO Max also orders adult sci-fi animated series Scavenger's Reign for 2023. Paddington 3 being called Paddington in Peru and starts filming next year. This is big news, Wayne. Jon Snow spinoff is officially in the works with Kit Harington reprising his role. Who knows if it's going to make it to screen? They had one spinoff with Naomi Watts get canceled, so who knows if this one's going to make it. The first spinoff starts airing this year sometime.
His character is extremely popular, so I would hedge a bet that it's gonna go through. What's interesting is I'm surprised that Kit Harington is willing to reprise this, because when the show originally ended, he had a lot of trouble moving on. So to go back to it, he must be very passionate about this character, or he needs a paycheck.
As I say, and
I
it's
just
probably a little bit of both. It's probably a hefty fucking paycheck. I'm gonna guess.
I just hope it's better than the last season, because
I think it's kind of they're looking for a series to help redeem, I think, some of that last season. Not that they need to, whether you like it or not, that's the season it ended. The show ended. But I think HBO is looking to do something that will, get fans interested in the series again. And it would be kind of, then they could get to a different ending with that character. All right.
There's a show coming up about the Targaryens and the dragons.
Yes,
so hopefully
I'm
that'll
interested
be good as well.
in that. We'll see how that comes out. I'm interested in that one. Guy Ritchie also directing live action Hercules for Disney. He's been working with Disney for a couple movies now. All right, so releases coming up. Handmaid's Tale Season 5 debuts September 14th. Persuasion, starring Dakota Johnson, Cosmo Jarvis, and Henry Golding, hits Netflix July 15th. Hello, Goodbye, and Everything in Between hits Netflix July 6th. Sylvester Stallone's mobster TV show Tulsa King debuts November 13th on Paramount Plus. I'm very excited for that one. Taylor Sheridan, the creator of Yellowstone, is creating that one. Marilyn Monroe biopic, which is going to be like 3 hours long and rated NC-17, starring Ana de Armas. It's called Blonde. Will hit Netflix September 23rd. Deaths this week: character actor Philip Baker Hall passed away at the age of 90. Tim Sale, comic book artist known for Batman, dead at 66. And Tyler Sanders, a young actor who was on Walking Dead and 911 Lone Star, passed away at the young age of 18. So that's pretty crazy. Rest in peace to the three of those. Wayne, any final thoughts for this episode that's been kind of all over the place because of technical difficulties?
I've already reiterated how beautiful of a man Chris Hemsworth is, and we'll just leave it at that.
I think if you're going to take anything out of this episode, it's that he is a very attractive man. And you should just watch his movies because most likely at some point he will take his shirt off. He does dance in this one, which I thought was a very cool scene too. He is not a very good dancer and he can't really sing, but he does try in this movie. So yeah, you could check out Spiderhead on Netflix, and then Father of the Bride, the remake, is on HBO Max. So go over and check those movies out. Like I said, next week's episode is going to be big. Our 100th episode. We're very excited about that. We're glad we've made it this far. So yeah, that's what we've got going on in the future. Thank you for listening to another episode of Now Showing with Mike and Wayne.
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
Hasta la vista, baby.
Hey, everybody, we're all gonna get laid.